Trio jailed for man's murder during fake drug deal in Ilford. An investigation by Met homicide detectives has seen 3 men jailed after a 34-year-old man was killed on an Ilford street during a sham drug deal. The 3 men were sentenced at the Old Bailey on Friday, June 10. Syd Goss, 22, of Huntsman Road, Ilford was sentenced to 29 years imprisonment. Jermaine Forrester, 25, of Lee Street, Ilford was sentenced to 29 years imprisonment. Brian Graham, 27, of Farnham Road, Ilford was sentenced to 27 years imprisonment. They were convicted following a 6-week trial at the same court on Thursday, May 19. Detective Inspector Adam Callahan, who led the murder investigation, said, Lee Baxter was not a master criminal, he was not adept at arranging drug deals, and nor should the circumstances in the lead up to his death cast any shadow on the utter senselessness of it. Lee was a victim of a terrible crime, and he deserves justice. Lee was a loving father who lost his life in the most violent of ways. My thoughts are with his family and friends at what I can only imagine is a very difficult time. Goss, Forrester and Graham planned to rob Lee, and they were willing to use violence to carry out their plan. They came armed with knives while Lee did not. Lee did not travel to Pavillion Terrace prepared for violence. Lee was walking away from the deal when these 3 men decided to launch their fatal attack. I want to thank all of the witnesses who spoke to police about what they saw that day. You didn't turn your back on Lee and were a vital part of our investigation to get justice for him. Thanks to this information we were quickly able to identify the people responsible and ensure they were arrested, charged and brought before the courts. On October 9, 2020, Lee Baxter and another man drove to Pavillion Terrace, Ilford, where they expected to buy a significant amount of cannabis. Lee had £5,000 in cash with him to pay for the drugs. Syd Goss, Jermaine Forrester and Ryan Graham were there waiting for Mr. Baxter. He had never met any of these men before and unbeknown to him, at least one of the men was armed with a knife. Negotiations took place, and at one point Lee showed Goss, Forrester, and Graham that he was in possession of a large sum of money. As it became clear they were not bringing the drugs, Lee began to walk away. Forrester then led the attack to rob Lee. After Forrester got Lee in a headlock, Graham joined the assault, bringing Lee to the ground where he was stabbed. As Forrester and Graham attacked Lee, Goss focused his attention on the man with Lee. He was able to make it unharmed to the car that he and Lee had driven to the location. Goss then turned his attention back to Lee and joined the attack. Lee sustained a number of stab wounds with a fatal blow lacerating his femoral artery and vein. As he lay dying, Goss, Forrester and Graham got into a waiting car and made their getaway. Realizing that something very serious had happened, the man with Lee attempted to save his life by putting him in the recovery position after calling police to the scene. Other witnesses also attempted to help Lee, but the injuries he sustained were too grave. Lee died at the scene almost immediately due to significant blood loss. Lee was officially pronounced dead at 10:31 p.m. after emergency services tried desperately to save his life, including performing surgery at the scene. Police immediately launched a murder investigation, and the plot concocted by Goss, Forrester and Graham almost immediately unraveled, with the 3 men quickly identified as suspects thanks to witness testimony. Goss and Forrester were arrested on October 21, 2020. Graham was arrested the following day. During a search of the flat Goss and Forrester shared, police recovered 2 knives. One of the knives was found next to cleaning material, and both had been subject to intense cleaning. No bloodstaining was found on either knife. Police recovered significantly blood-stained clothing from the washing machine. The blood on these clothes was later matched to Forrester and Goss. The forensic search of a car used by the 3 men, which had been captured on CCTV driving away from the murder scene, revealed Lee's blood had been deposited at various locations in the rear of the car where Forrester and Graham had been sitting. Goss, Forrester and Graham were charged on Sunday, October 24, 2020.